Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Time here. So it's been quite a while since I messed around with the Grundig, and I know I'd ordered some capacitors for it a while back, and I guess I wasn't really thinking when I ordered them, but I got what are the axial leads where we go, where they come out of each side. And normally it wouldn't matter too much, except I look at this, and here's where the capacitor leads stick out from the power supply capacitor I'll be replacing. And as you can see, well, I guess you can't see. Let me lift it up a little bit so you can see. Here we go. It's a can. Now, I originally thought, well, I'll take that out. It's underneath. Who cares? But the problem is with axial leads, it makes it kind of hard because there's got to be two of them, and they're both 50 microfarad and pretty beefy because they're at 450 volts. So let's see. I thought, well, I didn't realize how big they were. I thought, well, then I can stuff them inside the can. Take the can apart, stuff them in there, and put it back in. But these would never fit together in the can, for one thing. So I either need radial where both leads come out the same side, and I can make that happen in here. I can bring them both out and attach the ones on each side of the ground and bring them out together, and just basically connect the two capacitors side by side and put them there. Or, excuse me, they may be smaller and may fit inside there if I could just recan that. It doesn't matter either way. Sure, I could make these fit, but I think it would be somewhat of an eyesore, so we'll see what happens. Okay, a day later, and I thought about this a lot, and I don't think I'm worried about making it as pristine as something brand new, because there was a couple Americanized things I wanted to do to this. For instance, I don't know if you remember in the first video where I found these two fuses. Well, apparently if you want to run it on 110, you put the fuse here. If you want to run it on 220, you put the fuse here. I'm actually going to cut that because I'm not going to be running on 220, and if I gave this away to somebody or something and it didn't work for some reason and they thought, oh, it has a blown fuse or there's a fuse missing, and they plugged one in there, I don't know what all kind of mishap would happen. So anyhow, that's one of the things I want to get rid of. Another thing is this had a non-polarized plug. And what I didn't really like about it was on one side of the polarized plug they put a fuse, and on the other side they put the switch. I kind of like to have one side as the common and then have the fuse and the switch both on the same side. And then I'll also be adding some, the Y1, Y2 caps. For safety caps, I'll put some of those in. But a couple of things that I noticed here. One is the cord. The way they had the strain relief, the cord went in through this metal opening here, and it just had a piece of plastic around it. When it went in, like a plastic tube, the cord went through it. I don't really like that, so I think I'm going to open this up a little bit more and put a strain relief with the new cord. Oh, there we go. Just one of those strain reliefs. And there'll still be plenty of room. It's inside the case, so you can't see it anyhow. It doesn't stick out of the case. It'll stay with the chassis. So I'll put that in there. And even if I wasn't going to put this in here, and I was just going to put a grommet, I would still have to drill that a little bit bigger for a grommet, because it's even a little bit tough getting just a cord in here alone, let alone with a grommet. I guess you can see this capacitor hanging here. So I took out the original cap that was in there, the double 50 cap right there, and it's only testing about 35 microfarad, but it is actually showing a little bit of continuity between the sides, which tells me that the ground's starting to deteriorate inside there. So you can see in there, it kind of looks, I don't know if that was a leak or what it is, but actually I can see a bug in there. The corpse of a bug. So what I did was I looked in the double 50, one comes up to here, the wire runs underneath the transformer over this transformer, and here's where the first 50 microfarad runs to, right on the side here. So I thought, well, I can just mount that right beside that. And it mounts pretty nice there. So I replaced these two caps while I was up here because they were both wax, paper wax. The other cap goes down here and actually attaches to the diode, or the I'm sorry, the bridge rectifier that they had in there. So I took the one that was out of there and then I put this one in, and I was basically able to use all the same wires. And I just mounted the cap right here. Again, this goes inside the chassis, and there's other caps outside because I thought, well, maybe I'll mount it inside. But I just figured it was going right there, so I'll mount it right there. So there's those couple things. So I think what I'm going to do is get the power cord to it, and I'm going to see if this thing fires up. I did start to replace some of the caps under here. As you can see, I'm starting to go through them. I don't know if you can really get a good look at it the way it's sitting. So I did a couple of them under here. So like I said, it's coming along. It's not going to be an original, which probably people are clenching right now because it's not going to be original. But I have a couple other items. The little clutch here that runs that's all deteriorated. So I have to look and see what I have to do about that. But I just basically want to see if I can power it up and see if it's going to do anything, because I really wasn't able to do much with it the first time I powered it up. Plus I need a little bit of motivation because I'm in the mood to just stick it back on the shelf again. So we'll see if we can get it to do anything, and then I'll know I should continue on. But give me some time to get the power hook to it, and we'll hook it on the variac and the isolation transformer, and we'll get ready to go. Okay, so there's my isolation transformer. Actually, it's got it on eBay. It was a medical transformer, and I got it for a pretty good price, and for the power it can handle, it's definitely worth it. I forget how much, but how much power, but actually it's nothing. I'd never be running it anywhere near that, maybe an amp or two. But so then it comes up to, plugs in, goes into, there's the infamous variac, and then I use that light bulb as kind of if there's a short circuit, it'll light the light bulb. That'll limit the current. So let's see, then this is going to plug in. Here's the plug right here, and those alligator clips that I have taped here to the bench, they go to the power cord that's not in here yet. This will be the new power cord, but I just haven't installed it yet. So let's see, everything else, these here hook to the speaker that's still in the case. So that's why I have the case here. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's see. We'll put a limit. We have that switch flipped to limit. I'm going to turn this all the way down. I'll turn this on. Let me, I think if I push any button here, other than the off button, it'll cause it to come on. Let's turn this on, and I'm going to start to look at this up here. This meter up here will tell me the voltage we get going to it. Let's just turn it on. And here I'll basically be watching to see if that light starts to come on to indicate something's shorting out. I can always see I got a light coming on here. So that's a good thing. One of my panel lights is coming on. Still looks good. I'm still below the range where that's going to come on. There we go. Let's see. All right, I can hear music, or not music, some kind of sound. Let's see. Let's see what our voltage is. We're still low, probably around 70 or so. What voltage here? We got 97 volts. 102 volts. Let's just see. Well,
the region's only financial broadcast with live calling questions.
I guess take it that's the FM button there.
It's something unpredictable.
And again, my finger is an antenna.
Help you out the
Forgot to look on here. It does give me the different offs. I'd imagine that maybe means off. Music, that's pretty self-explanatory. Sprach, maybe speech. Low, I'm not sure what all these are different bands, but I don't know what they stand for. I've been trying to brush up on a little bit of German there through Google to try and pick some of this stuff out, but anyhow, it works. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up with the capacitors, get those all changed out, and we'll go from there, and I'll tune you back in as soon as I get some more stuff done. I have some issues with the obviously with the tuners. You can see this one's broken, but I do have all the parts. The FM one I do not have all the parts for. I don't have the pointer, but I guess I can make a pointer, or look around. Okay, stay tuned. Okay, so through the magic of a camera and YouTube, you can see I'm starting to get these capacitors all done here. I just got a few more to do, but something I did want to show you, and I've run into this a lot. You've seen these little, like right down in here. Let me use a pointer. Oh, like these little components right here. See, with like, it looks like a tube with a wire wrapped around it, and there's one over here. Well, if you look closely, this guy right here is broken. I'm going to try and zoom into that. So hang on a second. I'm going to manipulate the camera so that I can see what you're zooming into. Alright, let's see. Let's turn it this way a little more. Gosh, I'll never find it. Let's see. Tip of my screwdriver's pointing. There we go. Come on, can you? There we go. Very good. And right below that, there it is. You can see one that is broken. There's one end of it, and here's the other end down here. And I'm trying to zoom in a little more so you can get a better look at that. But a couple years ago, well, I guess we're not going to get too good of a look, are we? A couple years ago, when I did my first one of these older radios, I saw those components and kind of figured what they were, but I just couldn't ever really find them as listed. They're a capacitor, and basically it's a tubular ceramic capacitor. And I think I thought they were a little more resilient than they were, and I kind of tried to pry this one over out of the way to heat up the solder, and when I did, it cracked like like a piece of plastic. Well, probably like a piece of ceramics, more like it. But the thing that I find odd is that is a, what was it, 4 nanofarad. Is that correct? But it's in parallel with a 5 microfarad electrolytic. So just trying to do some research and find out what the purpose of a little tiny capacitor like that is in parallel, because in parallel capacitors, they would just add up. So anyhow, I was looking for a good replacement for it, and I have some cheap disc capacitors, but I've read where they say the disc capacitors could be microphonic. I don't know. At this stage of the game, I imagine this is the demodulator stage. I forget what the tube number is, the 80, EABC or something, 80. So I thought at the very least, at the very highest, the frequencies here would be, what for FM, like 10.7 megahertz, and that would just be the intermediate frequencies, and actually to be falling below that, if this is part of the modulator, it would be all audio frequencies. But anyhow, so I'm not really sure. I have to look into to see what the exact purpose of that is and why they did that. But I just thought it might be something interesting for you to see if you've never been brave enough to break one of these. But I'll find a suitable replacement and press on. I'm not going to bother with this capacitor right now because it's in parallel, and if I have to take that out, that would go in. So that's where we're at. A few more capacitors to go, and I'll see what I want to do with a replacement for that, and keep you tuned. We'll go from there. Alrighty, so we got all the capacitors in. All the resistors checked good, and it was weird because these, just the way they're made, they're not like Allen Bradley's, but and they're not really like roundies. I guess it's some European thing. But let's see what else. Put the XY, like a standoff with the XY or the safety caps on it. And what else do we got? Oh, I have the I put the plastic strain relief and a new cord, a polarized cord. And what else? I think that's about it. The only thing I'll have left to do is to string the front and then clean the case. But I want to make sure everything works right now because all the caps are replaced and it was a lot of digging. For this one here, the one that was broken, I just replaced it with a regular ceramic flat capacitor, or disc capacitor rather. That seems to be what all the radio people were doing. And let's fire it up and see what it does, and then if it doesn't explode on me or blow up or catch on fire, and if it kind of works, then we'll get ready and do the last step, which is the cord for the dials and then clean it up. Okay, I want to do a quick check of the IF section alignment, and so as not to bore you to death, I'll show you afterwards where I got everything hooked up at, because it's a bit tricky to find on this radio, and I want to make sure I have it hooked up in the right place. Generally what I'm doing is going into the input of the mixer and injecting a 460 kilohertz signal. It's going to be modulated, very small signal. We'll see what we get onto the output. Let me get my meter hooked up as well so we can measure that. Let me throw you on pause while I do that. Okay, well, good timing on my part, because right when I went to get the clips for that meter up there, the battery went dead. So I'm back, and I also had to carve some of the wax out of the coils. Kind of makes me nervous when there's that much wax in there, thinking that probably no one's messed with these and it probably doesn't need a line, but we'll see what happens anyhow. So where I was, let's see, let's put a signal into this. Okay, just barely hear the signal, and we're going to be working off of that meter up there, and I'll zoom into it. You know, the other zoom when I'm getting closer to it. I don't know if that's good. There we go. How's that? That gives you a better look. Okay, I gotta get my head in front of here for a second to see which coil I'm gonna adjust first. Number one is right up in here. Alright, so I'm on it. That was just static. Head in the way. Maybe I can keep it low enough. Alright, I'm going to adjust that. We're going to look for that increase. We'll see what we get. Lower. Okay. Really, it was about perfect where it was. So the next one will be underneath. I'm going to flashlight and look underneath. There's one coil on top and one underneath on the chassis side. So let's see, that was the closest one. Lovely. Maybe this tool will work better. Ever so slight of an increase out of that one. I always want to find that one that's going to give me mega increase. Alright, here's this one. This will be number 3. Not that way. Hey! Okay, well that was pretty good. And then the one in front, or in the bottom rather. Watch where I put my hands on this chassis. Alright, so that one was pretty close to being on. So I'll go through them all one more time and then be done with it. IF section is done. Yippee! Okay, on a little bit of a field trip here. One of the other things I have to do on this is see what the difference is from the diode since I changed from the selenium and put the silicone diode in. And I had to calculate the difference in resistance as you've seen me do on when I replace them in the meters and stuff. But anyhow, I have 2 different ways I'm looking at it. And there's through the ICO, and that's telling me I'm on the FM band about 265. Let me see if I can get closer. Around a little bit over 260, 262, somewhere in that area, 265. Close enough. So then if we look over at the digital, that's saying 254. So, you know, I expected to see a bigger difference in that just because the vacuum tube voltmeters, that's what they used back in the day when they were working on these. Then with AM I was getting, I'll show you when I plug it, when I switch to AM.
In this last election.
Let me turn that on so we're not, okay. So there, a little bit higher. That's 260, about 268, and there we're looking at 259. Come on, focus. Still, all in all, pretty good. But if you look up at there, I'm sorry about that fast movement, I'll zoom in a little bit. That's about what the reading should be. And come on, zoom, focus for me, will you? There you go. Okay, so when you look at the schematic, you'll see how it shows one's a solid block, one's a square block with dots, the other's an oval block with dots. And if you follow it across to, where is it? Oh, I have to go a little further. But anyhow, the little legend is at the bottom of the, sorry about all the shaking here. Come on, computer, there we go. Where is it? It's down lower. There it is right here. I'll see if I can get to it. It's right there. And it shows you medium wave. I have to look up what UKW means, but that's FM. And then TA is if you put something else like the phono or something in, but I don't have any connections to that. So I guess you could just turn off everything, but I think if I get the AM and FM in the specs, I'll be close enough. But still, I'm only off by just a couple of volts. So we calculate that and see about throwing that through a resistor I can mount in there somewhere and be done with that. Alrighty. I did want to show where I was tapping in, and if you see, I'm tapping in right on the positive output on the diode, and that would be where it joins with the filter capacitor, and then the chassis ground right there. Okay, so another thing I want to look into is the magic eye tube there, and want to check the functioning of that. That doesn't seem to be working, but I think it's a tube itself. It's got some pretty nasty burn marks on the side of it, and you can barely even see it. Plus, it doesn't really deflect. So I have to make sure that I believe the voltage from that comes kind of from the automatic gain control line, and probably somewhere on the discriminator or for the FM. So I have to find that out and see if that's working correctly. But I think I need a tube also, just by how dim that is. Let's see. Got that done. The alignment's done. So next is going to be to clean things up, and I ordered some springs for these springs right here. I'll show you. These aren't the right springs, but I'll end up showing you what I got for for this. And I already had some cord for it. I'll have to make the one needle, the one pointer for, I guess it's the medium wave for the AM and shortwave bands, and clean it up a little bit more. Didn't really do too much with cleaning it up. I de-dusted it. That's it. Also want to clean the contacts in here for the tuning capacitor. Sometimes they get pretty cruddied up over the years, but everything on this is kind of hinged on everything else, so I hate to take that out just to clean it. So I'll see if I can get in there and clean it, and then I'll take the tubes out and check all them, and we're moving along. I mean, it works, as you can hear.
Listen anytime,
Anywhere.
That's AM, and where's FM at? I don't even have an antenna hooked into it, and I'm down in the basement. So stay tuned, and I'll probably put this out and then go through it a little bit more, and keep you updated, but so the video doesn't end up being for forever. Maybe I'll break this down into segments and put it out there if anybody has any care to watch and see what's going on with this. So thanks for watching, and we'll see if I can get this out there.